Well, in early 1973, I came to this institution. It was new. The school really began that year by bringing students in after they finished the second year to finish the third and fourth year and beginning a new class of students de novo. And those of us who were recruited here were senior faculty in charge of our departments. And it was very peculiar in the sense that we had no Indians, there were only chiefs. So the heads of the sections, the heads of the departments were doing all the teaching. They were on all the committees. And if a committee was established, and at a hospital and a medical school you're going to have a lot of committees, there's only a few people to call on, that was us. And I remember talking to one of my fellow colleagues, what do you do about this? I can't go to all those meetings. Do I just decline? He said, no, put your name on them and go the ones you can. So that was very helpful. The other thing is Chevis Smythe, when he organized the school, did not have departments. He didn't want departments in the traditional sense. He wanted programs. And it was a program in surgery, program in internal medicine. These were vertical programs. And then he was beginning the horizontal programs, and the program I directed was the first of those, infectious diseases and clinical microbiology. So I was in charge of everything to do with bugs. Infectious diseases in internal medicine, pediatrics, and the Department of Microbiology. And so we taught everything the students had on microbiology and infectious diseases. The hospital, Herman Hospital, was a community hospital. We're moving into this community hospital. The physicians that were there in practice were concerned about a medical school coming in and taking over. So there was a lot of town gown issues that we had to deal with in those early days. But one of the great things was the student size was small, the student body size. We got to know all those students. I was very involved in teaching every one of those students in the first classes. And I've continued to teach the students all the way through. So I've taught every student who's ever been a student at this institution. But the transition problems at the hospital were quite significant in terms of the private doctors and threat from a medical school. A scenario we see play out in the medical center decade after decade after decade as medical schools really become more involved with hospitals. The building, when I first came, there were no buildings. We had offices in Jesse Jones Library. We were in Center Pavilion Hospital and scattered around. The first building was the John Freeman Building, a two-story building, and that we had a permanent place the faculty could be. When we were planning the new building, the current building, I was on that organizing committee. The University of Texas had two architect plans, and they didn't know which one they wanted to follow. So they built two walls sitting out on Fannin Street of the two different types that they could physically look at the walls. Where but the University of Texas would you build a wall to be able to pick your building? You know, people can't figure it out from plans, they got to see a wall. So anyway, that was the beginning of the construction. Part of the very interesting history of this institution is, as probably in most schools when they begin, is instability. And Chevis Smythe, there was a coup. The clinical chairs met with the then first president of the University of Texas Health Science Center, Chuck Berry, the astronaut physician, and decided he wasn't responsive to the clinical needs. I get a call one day from Dr. Smythe to come to his office, and he says, Bert, I want you to be acting chairman of the Department of Internal Medicine. I'm going to fire Walter Kirkendall today. And I've sent him the letter. Okay, I go back to my office kind of reeling. The next thing I get is a message from Walter Kirkendall, wants me to come to his office. I go to his office and say, I got a letter from Dr. Smythe firing me and putting you as the interim director, but I want to tell you that at 4 o'clock today, Dr. Smythe is going to be fired. And so that letter is going to be filed in the waste can. I just want to let you know that. I mean, it was a kind of amazing early history. Then the other major upheaval was when Herman Hospital found that some of the clinical chairs, section chiefs, were not paying attention to the hospital. And they wanted to change the rules whereby the department heads, division directors of the school wouldn't necessarily be the chiefs in the hospital. Well, 7 chairmen wrote a letter saying, if you sign this, we will resign our position from the hospital. But those 7 guys never read history. You never make an ultimatum to an institution. An institution is heartless. They were given 24 hours to recant. 2 of them did, surgery and neurology. The other 5 were gone. That was the second time I was acting chairman of medicine here at the medical school. But after that, stability set in the faculty. And I think we reached this wonderful period of time where things really went well in the institution. Another thing I want to say about the University of Texas McGovern Medical School is the special quality it has of student orientation. I've been on the faculty of multiple medical schools, I'm a professor at Baylor, taught actively over there, but the essence of this school is its remarkable support of medical students. Whatever the student needs, they get, and it is just an amazing thing. And my brother is a physician in Washington, D.C., and I was talking about this wonderful quality of the school. Well, his daughter, who was a college student at Georgetown, said, I want to go to that school. She came down here to be a student. And my brother's grandson is a current student. My son was a student, now an academic gastroenterologist. It's a very special institution that really cares about the students. And that's not seen in other places. Medical school is a tough place. You've got to grow up, you've got to be strong, you've got to put patients first, and that transition is very difficult. But this school tends to, I think, be very, very supportive, and it's a wonderful place to be a student. Now, I came here to head up infectious diseases and microbiology, and I was at the University of Maryland. I had been an officer with the CDC investigating epidemics around the world. I had very active in the field of diarrheal diseases. Internationally at that time, I came here as a full professor at age 34, head of this department, and we were the first lab in the world that could detect all the causes of diarrhea that we knew at that time. I had discovered a couple of them. And so the NIH gave us lots of money to establish a center for study of diarrhea in Latin America and in Houston, just to see what's going on and what might happen there. And also at that time, a very surprising thing happened. The FDA made an edict in 1974 that over-the-counter drugs should work if they make a claim. Up till 1974, you could sell University of Texas snake oil that treated heart disease, cancer, and diabetes, and you could put it in Walgreens and CVS, no problem. But the FDA in 74 said these drugs have to work if you make a claim. And so every company that ever made a drug to treat diarrhea came to see me, and we tested them. and help the FDA establish how these drugs are categorized as safe and effective. Well, that was a boon to our research program. All the money from these companies coming in to develop this information. One of the things that was a spinoff that was important to this institution is that we established a research elective in Latin America for medical students. And between 1975 and 2010, we took 4 to 6 medical students to Mexico, for 3 cities of Mexico, to do research. We would do research in the morning, I would lecture in the afternoon on infectious diseases, antibiotics, and it was the most remarkable elective. It was the most popular elective in the school. And so over the years, almost 300 medical students were taken by my wife and me to Latin America to learn research and learn a new culture and a new language. It was a wonderful thing. It stopped in 2010 because the University of Texas worried about violence in Mexico. I'm not sure that's really, I think we could have handled that, but that was the decision, and so we refocused our research into problems here in this country. We're working on the microbiome currently, and we're involving every institution in the Texas Medical Center in this program. We have developed a capsule where we have isolated the bacteria from healthy donor subjects, put them in these capsules, and are treating conditions: Parkinson's disease, antibiotic-associated diarrhea and colitis, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease with type 2 diabetes and obesity. And we're trying to see the limits of how the microbiome might affect health and disease. I think the big difference in terms of evolution of this institution, the biggest difference was strong leadership. Leadership that knew what they wanted and knew how to get it. Emphasis on education, always, but emphasis on research too, because research is the basis of all new knowledge. Research is the basis of your reputation, your international reputation. If you have the best research going on, you have a bright light shining over the institution nationally, internationally, which gives it a reputation. But the stability of the leadership of this institution has been essential. Over the years that I was here, major changes have occurred. Departments have gotten much bigger. With the influx of money in the 70s from NIH, with the influx of clinical revenue from Medicare and other insurance programs, departments got huge. They were much smaller when we began, much bigger. The other thing is that people change. When you talk about Tom Brokaw's greatest generation, and then you get to the baby boomers, and the X generation, the cuspers, and you move to the millennial generation, these are different people. This pendulum has swung, and interest in lifestyle, pleasure, what's good for me, is much more relevant today than it was in these early days, where there was more loyalty, hard work. And so it's a moving target. The students are different. They're picking different specialties. They have different ways they study. They don't go to lectures now. They always went to lectures in the early, and every student went to the lectures. They wanted to get themselves involved with the students. Now it's more strategy. And they can learn at their own pace, at their own time. And I'm not critical of that, but it's just a description of the change of behavior of human beings. Now, the millennial generation is bringing the pendulum back. They're more interested in volunteerism. They're more interested in social justice. And I see that movement coming back in a very positive way. But the students went through a lot of changes and still are going through a lot of changes as a cohort, as a group. But the future to me looks very bright. The beginning of my story here, I was a tenured associate professor at the University of Maryland, had multiple grants. We had just bought a house on the Severn River near Annapolis, which had been featured in House Beautiful magazine. I got a letter suggesting I look at the job from Dr. Smythe. I said, no, I'm not interested, I'm doing great here. But my former mentor from my first infectious disease mentor had talked with Dr. Smythe at a Harvard alumni, and Dr. Smythe described this position. It was like no other position. And so my mentor said, you go look at that. So I did. Now we came down here. We had never visited Texas. You don't live in Texas, you read about Texas. But we came down here, the green grass, the Hispanic culture, this incredible cadre of faculty that Dr. Smythe had recruited, the spirit of building a school and being part of what would evolve was just too irresistible. I mean, I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to build it. I was the second curriculum committee chairman. I was involved in planning this school from the very beginning of the school, and it was exciting. You don't do that in an established school that's been there 120 years. As things evolved, as many do, you kick tires. You want to look at other opportunities. And I looked at dean jobs at schools, I looked at chairman of medicine jobs, and was offered 2 of those positions. But what really kept me was the Texas Medical Center and the opportunity to build a program beyond just one institution. And I worked daily with every single institution in this medical center. I could have never replicated that anywhere else. The visionary idea to put everything dealing with medicine and health in one place was a remarkable decision. It was not very smart when you think about distribution of patients, but it was incredibly brilliant when it comes to scientists, collaboration, new ideas, grants, contracts, and generation of important science. To tell you a strong memory of the institution that, again, may not be popular, but it happened to me. We were involved in international research early on, and the University of Texas had little interest in this, particularly in the Houston Health Science Center. I was moving equipment, moving faculty, moving students into other countries. And a picture of me on the front page of a student newspaper in a medical school in Guadalajara, Mexico, talked about the important research I was doing in Mexico, and a state senator from Texas read this, got this, and was afraid that I would be a conduit through which inferior medical students going through Mexico might get to the University of Texas. So he called up the dean, Bob Tuttle, and he said simply, get Dupont out of Mexico. I get a call from the dean, and he says, Bert, you're going to have to leave Mexico. And I says, Bob, I have got $3 million in grants for work in Mexico right now. You say I got to leave? He said, yeah, you got to leave. Our money depends on the state legislature. I went to the then president, Roger Bulger, and I relayed what had just transpired. And I said, we got to fully review this because I'm getting ready to publish a lot of stuff about what's going on down there and why everybody gets sick, and there's going to be a lot of publicity. And Bulger tells his assistant, get Tuttle over here. Bob Tuttle came over to Bulger's office, and he didn't ask him a question. He just said, as long as I'm president, Bert Dupont can do whatever he wants, anywhere he wants. Tuttle left the room. That was certainly memorable. My whole program was ready to go up in flames. And because of leadership, this is what I'm talking about. And I'll tell you, the most important leadership change this school ever had was the appointment of Tom Burks for vice president and head of research. All of a sudden, working in other countries became a good thing, not a bad thing. And he recognized how important it was to have our faculty do important things internationally. Very important. Once Dr. Smythe was fired, the faculty leadership group was called Administrative Council, and all the program directors met. And our first meeting after that change was, do we want to still be programs and not departments? And we went around the room, and everybody in the room but me said they want to be a chairman of a department. That's traditional. And I said, no, I don't want to be a department of microbiology and infectious diseases. I want to be a program in the traditional department structure. And so for 15 years, we had a series of departments and one program. And then later, I decided to, first of all, the school decided to create a freestanding department of microbiology. So that was removed from our program. Then I incorporated the School of Public Health into the infectious diseases and became the director of the Center for Infectious Diseases, which was both the School of Public Health and the School of Medicine. And I moved the molecular research to the medical school and the epidemiologic research, the population-based research, to the School of Public Health. And for quite a few years, that was a wonderful arrangement. The University of Texas Medical School, now McGovern Medical School, shaped my career. It really is why I've accomplished what I've accomplished. It gave me the lab space, the money, the faculty. It gave me this time to develop the ideas that I had, and I will be forever grateful for that. How did I change it? I think I was critical to the early development of this school. I think I had involvement with everything that went on of any importance in the first 2 decades of the school. I continue to teach the students. You know, when you're my age and you're still teaching students, you must be able to give them a message that they want to hear. And so I think I'm contributing in the way of education. I know I'm contributing in research. I believe in our microbiome research. We have one of the top, most innovative programs in the world in this area, and I hopefully will be successful, and this will bring luster to the institution.